What is going on, guys? It is Daniel Wright, and you are here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. Guys, I'm happy you're here as always. I know y'all missed me last week. To be honest, I don't think I had a whole lot to say last week. I forgot to put up a replay last week, and been a lot going on around the office still. So here we are again this week, and I am wanting to talk a little bit about what a difference a year can make. I was doing a little bit of digging through my old podcast from about a year ago, and right about this time last year, March 10th and March 13th. So March 13th was actually, I believe, possibly one of the last podcasts I did before I took about a 2-month break last year. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit, share a little bit with you about kind of how we're kicking off this year from, we're about 2.5 months in. And just kind of talk a little bit off the top of my head and share some insight with you guys. So with all that being said, let's get started. All right, guys, welcome back. Like I said, before I hopped in here to get this put together for you, I was spending a little bit of time digging back through the archives of a year ago, the podcast I was putting out, listening to the one about the rubber meets the road, listened to a little bit of the one about called it Be Nice. And it was interesting, right? Because you guys get to see, me on these podcasts, on the videos, once a week, typically, except for when I forget a week or whatever it may be. But you guys get to see me that way. You see the social media, you see, the content from our company, whatever it may be. But the fun part about what I get to do is that I get to see all the other minutes, hours, and days of my life outside of these recordings and outside of these episodes. And I spent a little bit of time kind of reflecting on that, because as I was going into this time last year, for anybody who's been following along the journey of our company and where we're at, and maybe if you talk to me outside of just day-to-day interactions online, you would know that last year started off for us from a business standpoint super slow. It was a tough start to the year, not just for our company, but for our industry as a whole. There was a lot of other companies that I'm friends with all across the country that were having the same type of a start, slow to get contracts, slow to get the approvals, slow to get things scheduled, whatever it may be. It was just a weird start to the year. Probably didn't help the fact that it was an election year. So there's always a lot of uncertainty, or people are kind of being more reserved than they normally would be. But nonetheless, it wasn't a pleasant start to the year. Among that, there was other things that we had going on in the company. We were still learning how to get Kelsey integrated into the business. And there was just a lot of things, happening. And one of the things that I mentioned in the Rubber Meets the Road podcast last year is that I knew that 2024, I had a very good feeling that 2024 was going to be an extremely challenging year. It was going to be a year that we were going to put our systems, our processes, everything like that to the test. And it was either going to work or it wasn't. And it was going to be challenging. It was going to be difficult. There was going to be a lot of new obstacles to have to overcome. Whatever it may be, you can name it. I had a feeling it was going to come. Here I am sitting here at the office a year later, and I've kind of had this not a looming, but almost kind of like this feeling in the back of my mind that's like, man, this was about the time last year where it really started to hit me about how tough this year was going to be. And as I was reflecting on that, I couldn't help but kind of think, I was right about last year. I was right about how challenging it was going to be. I was right about the difficulties we were going to face. I was right about putting the systems and the processes to the test and seeing what was going to break and what wasn't. I was right about having to have real conversations that weren't always fun and pleasant, but were necessary. I was right about a lot of the hunches that I had going into 2024. And the hunch that I can tell you that I have for going into 2025 as of right now is that it's still going to be a challenging year, right? It's going to be a challenging year because the amount of growth opportunities that we have in our industry and in our market and in our company is huge. The way that we've started 2025, I mentioned it in a video that got put on our company page the other day. We're coming out of the gates with our tail on fire. We're having a lot of targets that we're hitting. We're having a lot of opportunities that we're being able to take advantage of. We're having a lot of tests to make sure that our company and our systems, our team, our culture, everything like that is as solid as we believe it is. And at the end of the day, we're just having a lot of opportunity to grow. And there's no growth that comes without some sort of pain, some sort of difficulty. And I know that going into 2025, with the lessons that we as a team learned in 2024, are going to be a completely different way that we approach these challenges. I can tell you that throughout 2024, and specifically that kind of March, April, Mayish timeframe, when I took some time off to kind of reflect, I was just talking to Randy, our media guy here, before we turned the camera on to get this thing going. And I said, yeah, man, it was about a year ago that I took like 2 months off from the podcast. And he's like, why? I was like, I didn't really have anything to say, especially didn't have anything positive to say. I had to spend some time figuring out what I wanted to do, what I wanted that to look like, who I wanted to be, what kind of leader, husband, friend, whatever it may be that I wanted to be. And the last thing I ever wanted to do was to get on this camera, get in front, get behind this mic and talk to you guys about how to do this. And you got to make sure you do that. And, don't forget this. And these are lessons I've learned here. Sure, I had lessons that was getting learned, but also I have to make sure that I'm working on being the best version of me. So that way, when I show up for you or anyone else, I can be the best version of me for you. And so I told him that, yeah, I took, that was why I kind of took a couple months off. I just did not have the right mentality to get in front of the camera and do this. And some people can sit and say, well, that's when you got to get in front of it anyways, yada, yada, yada. I don't care. Everybody has their own way of making sure that they're showing up the best version of themselves. So you do you. But nonetheless, going into this year, like I said, I know that 2025 is going to come with its challenges, just like every other year does. There's no year that you're in business that's not challenging. If you have a year that's not challenging, you probably aren't doing anything very worthwhile to talk about. So nonetheless, this year, what we're jumping into is I've got some solid individuals around us at the company that are absolutely jumping in headfirst into taking ownership of their roles and their responsibilities within our organization. And I can honestly say that as I'm having to go through my days, I may be backed up on proposals. So if you're one of our clients listening to this and you're waiting, I'm getting it to you, I promise. But I may be backed up on proposals. I may be running all around Charlotte, Greensboro, Rock Hill, wherever we're at, doing site visits and meeting with folks. I may be, having to, help individuals in the company get their problems solved or direct them and guide them to where they can solve them themselves. But nonetheless, when I come here and I have to do my work, what I'm responsible for, I have very little concern or worry about everything else that's getting done on a minute by minute, hour by hour, day to day basis that I'm not even touching, right? And it's because the trials that we had to go through in 2024 were preparing us for what we're able to do right now, because the opportunities that we're coming across right now are spreading us further. So we're getting spread thinner, right? Geographically and from like a workload standpoint, but they're also spreading us further from a personnel standpoint, right? We only have so many people to handle so many things. And so when we're trying to figure out how to make sure that we're getting everything taken care of that's coming at us, and also make sure that nothing else is slipping or getting abandoned that we already have, we have to make sure that, like I said, the systems and processes we have in place as a team are effective and are getting the results that we need. And so when I think about the difference between this time this year versus this time last year, I have a lot more confidence. I can say that I'm much more confident in our company. I'm much more confident in our team. And honestly, I'm much more confident in myself. And I don't mean that to come across as like an arrogant prick. I mean that to just come across as genuineness. Last year, I knew going into the year it was going to be challenging. And I don't think I had the confidence or belief in myself that I would be able to figure it out. And I think one of the reasons I had that doubt, right, in myself and the ability to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish was because I felt that I had to accomplish it all. I had to make sure that operations was okay. I had to make sure that Kelsey and our newer sales rep at the time was okay. I had to make sure that admin was okay. I had to make sure that marketing was okay. It was all about what I had to do. And like I said a minute ago, everybody that I have around us that's in charge of all these different departments now, I don't really worry about whether or not they're okay or not. Obviously I'm concerned. I have, care to make sure they're all right and that they have what they need and they're taken care of. But when it comes to making sure that everything's getting done that they need to do, doesn't really cross my mind much. And I'll be honest with you guys, and I'm sure there's others, small business owners that can relate. There's times where I think about that, like that thought becomes a top of mind, a conscious thought of mine that, man, I'm not really concerned about anyone else and what they're doing right now. And there's times where I feel bad about that. There's times where it's like you have that almost like that hero syndrome where you want to be the one to save the day. You want to be the one to help do everything. You want to be the one to provide that value and those answers and just come in as that hero. And what I'm learning, guys, is there's people in your businesses, in your organizations, on your teams that they want to be their own hero. They want to be the one to make the right decision. They want to be the one to be able to be proud of themselves. They want to be the one that others look up to. And so the more that I've been able to tap into that and allow myself to just step back so that way others can step up, it's provided more opportunity for the team. It's provided more, I want to say peace, but more peace for myself. It's provided more confidence and trust amongst each other. There was a lot of times last year when things would get a little bit hostile, right? Where two people may say, well, two people being me and someone else, I may start asking questions. Well, did you get this? Did you remember to call this person? Did you email this person back? Whatever it may be. And the other person, I could tell looking back on it, they would get a little bit annoyed and say, yeah, I'm an adult. I can handle this. I'm responsible for this. I'm whatever it may be. And it's just a matter of making sure that as the leader, you're supposed to educate, empower, and equip them to do what they need to do. Not do it all for them. Not babysit them. Not check in on them every 20 minutes to make sure they're doing what they need to do. And so you just want to make sure that as you're growing these teams, as you're growing these organizations, I've found that it's more fun to live in and operate with trust, with belief that the individuals that you've brought into your organization are there to help, not there to be babysat. Nobody wants a business that you have to run it as an adult daycare, right? Nobody wants something that they have to make sure that they're checking in on constantly or they're losing sleep over every night, wondering if it all got done. And I can honestly say, guys, that although quarter one in our industry, especially in our area where we're at in North Carolina, quarter one is never a fantastic quarter for us when it comes to a revenue standpoint or whatever it might be. It's a whole lot of work for quarter one, right? It's the estimating season. Everybody's starting to get budgets released and so on and so forth. So there's definitely a lot of work on the front end that we're doing right now. But I can honestly say that this year coming into it, there's so much more confidence in what we are able to do as a company, what we're able to do as a team, and what I'm able to do as a leader. And that's one of the things that I realized last year is that there's a good reason other than, economic stuff that we can't control, right? We can't control if it's an election year. We can't control if people are being reserved with what they want to spend or whatever it might be. But what I can control is how I show up as a leader. And I know for a fact that there were more days than not that I did not show up as the type of leader that I needed to be. And it's oftentimes was because I didn't have the confidence in myself to be able to get us through what we needed to get through. Because like I said prior, I thought that I had to do it all. Going into this year, it's going to be challenging. 2025, it's already been challenging. It's been nonstop. For everything. All departments are running wide open right now. But I have way more confidence that we're going to get it done. I have way more confidence that everybody is going to be contributing and being more fulfilled and happier with our culture, our morale, and things like that. And so I guess at the end of the day, my point in all this is to say, if you're going into this year concerned, like I was last year, keep showing up. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. Make sure you take the time to look around at your team, whether it's one person, whether it's 100 people. Take time to look around at your team and take account for every person there because they don't have to be. Nobody at any of our teams has to be there. Nobody has to do what they're doing for your company, for your organization, whatever it might be. And so just take account for that, because you have people who are choosing to be there, who are wanting to provide and wanting to be the hero of their story when they go home and tell their families about their day or their big win or their big accomplishment. So don't steal it from them. Don't think that you have to always rush in and take care of the problems, because more often than not, the people on our teams are way more qualified and capable than we give them credit for. And I would encourage you to take a minute and think about that. Who do you have on your team that maybe you're not giving them enough credit? Maybe you're not giving them enough trust. Maybe you're not empowering them enough, whatever it might be. So, guys, at the end of the day, 2025, we're rocking and rolling. We're in head first. We're swimming. We're diving. We're going all in on it. And I can promise you that the ride that we're going on this year is going to be a way more fun and enjoyable ride than the ride I was on last year. And the reason I said it that way is the ride we are going on this year and the ride I was on last year is because I chose to try and think that I had to carry the weight by myself, as opposed to this year, the team's carrying the weight. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, rest of your week, whatever it may be. I'm looking forward to showing you guys a little bit about the new office that we had remodeled. I know for those of you who were listening a couple of weeks ago when I threw it old school and was at my computer desk doing a podcast, it's because we had a lot of crap going on. But nonetheless, we're getting all that wrapped up. We're rocking and rolling, and we got the new space about finished up. So, as always, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next week. Never hesitate to let me know if you need anything.